Hey people, Frank's the man here, doing a video on power adders. So that'd be interesting. I've been wanting to do this since high school, working on aircraft engines. I seen the system on those engines on, well, I read about them being on the World War II fighters. They would use this to boost horsepower, and I thought this would be cool on a car engine. Other companies have done it, it's already out, but the system is called the water or alcohol injection, and real simple to do if you know what you're doing. And I think I came up with a pretty bulletproof system to add to my Jeep, and well, I'll show you what I got. Okay, here's my whole system right here. I got a tank, pretty much a windshield washer fluid tank out of a car. The tanks usually come with the little water pump to push the fluid up to the squirters to squirt it. So these are pretty good motors. It'll squirt a 10-foot stream out of the hose without any restriction, so they're pretty tough. For the hose, it's a nylon hose, I guess. I got it at Home Depot, see-through, so I could see the fluid going through. And then to run it to the carburetor pan, I got to be able to disconnect it, so I put a quick release coupler from an airline onto it, and then going into the carburetor pan, it tees off and it goes to the injectors. Made this little bracket to direct the water. I don't want the water filling up the float bowl, so that's what all this does. Plus it clocks the pan onto the carburetor so it don't move. And as for the squirters, you could buy the squirters from an aftermarket company, but I found another source. The squirters I'm using are for the water bottles. I chopped it off and finagled to where I could fit the water line too. So that's my pretty simple setup. Let me show you how it works. I got it all mocked up, so I just got water in here. This kind of system you could use straight water, or you could start mixing the water with alcohol. The alcohol helps the water evaporate more. The ideal way to inject it into the motor is a mist. If you pump it through the motor in a stream, it'll probably just stall the motor out, because the water needs to vaporize before it enters the cylinder. If you get too much water into the cylinder, straight water, it'll probably not ignite. So that's the theory behind it. You got to have the water vaporize before it reaches the cylinder to get the power out of it. So I got the electric pump wired in. All I got to do is touch it to the cable and watch the squirters. That's how you want it to inject into the motor. Gotta imagine the motor will be spinning like 3,000 RPM, and that's a lot of air moving through these two barrels. I have a 4-barrel carburetor. It'll be squirting into the primaries, not the secondaries. I want to be able to inject it mid-throttle. I don't want to open the 4 barrels. I really don't use the 4 barrels for anything. It's pretty brutal. When I open this thing up, I might blow a shaft or blow a transmission or something like that. It's a pretty strong motor, and The rest of the drive line's pretty stock except for a shift kit. So I mainly just drive it on the 2 first barrels. And when you inject it, the time you inject it, I'm going to do it at 3,000 RPMs. That should be enough air moving in this area here to suck all that water down into it. So that's the plan. I know it'll work. Power output is usually about 10 or 15%, depending on water alcohol ratios. You can have the ratios 50-50, but I'm be using the windshield washer fluid, which is 20-80, or straight water, either or. Windshield washer fluid is about $2 a gallon. Straight water is pretty much whatever you pay if you can get it for free. Nowadays, depending on where you go, you gotta buy water. Believe that. So I think the only thing I have to do, I got the carburetor pan all straight where it just sits on there, and I gotta run the wire line to the tank, and I gotta make a bracket to mount the tank and run the electrical. So sit back. Okay, I give a closer shot of how a carburetor pan sits on the carburetor. Give you an idea on how it goes into the motor. Pretty easy, just sucks it in. So okay, you can see the deflectors. This is a hole into the carburetor that it's deflecting. The mist will stay in between here, and you can see it's deflecting another hole down into the carburetor too. So this little area here should have enough airflow to where everything squirted just gets sucked right down into it. And you can see the 4 barrels. There's not going to the 4 barrels. Like I said, I barely use them. Only if I'm racing somebody, I would open them up. But okay, this ought to be a fun little system. 3,000 RPM in this vehicle would be just doing 60. The axles have the 4-wheel drive ratios in them, so 3,000 RPM is 60 miles an hour. Ought to be fun kicking this thing on just to pass somebody. I'm just making it to have a little fun with. Okay. Okay, I got all the brackets made. The only thing left is the electrical. Back up a little bit. See, I got my this is going to the air cleaner. I have to hook it up to the motor. All the electrical I still have to hook up. This tank also has a low fluid level. I will be hooking up, and for master power, the switch here, when you turn it on, it also has a low light in it. And then for the low level light for the wiring, there'll be a low light here to tell me when it's almost out. And then to activate it, you'll have the master switch on, which will be keyed ignition, so I could leave that on. And when I turn the Jeep off, the system will shut off. So turn the master power on, and then to activate the pump, there'll be a push button on the T-handle. T-handle I made out of 3 pieces. Going to the bracket, I made the whole bracket to where it'll bolt in. And it's a pretty comfortable T-handle, I gotta remember that. Okay. Next part will be showing it done, and then go for a test drive.